How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to chaoschild. I mean, we saw the latest new gen killing. Someone recommended a new like new gen plus new gen or new plus gen killings. I still think new is better. Like, I don't know. I'm a man of simple pleasures. But we got a call. I guess we're running back to the Adobe clinic, and because Kurusu called for some reason. I have a choice here. We either do the fun, lovesies, happy delusion or the negative delusion. And the thing is, I really like the positive ones, but because of that, I should do the negatives more often. So, I think we're going to start with that. But I guess recap, yeah, we're basically kind of just trying to recover, move on from what just happened with like the whole like stuffed magazine things. We also started seeing some weird stuff online, and the phrase popped up, "Those eyes are God's eyes," which seems to be a reaction to "Whose eyes are those eyes?" Because I wouldn't even mention "Whose eyes are those eyes?" Then there's someone in the chat room going crazy with "Those eyes are God's eyes," which is making me think that whatever we're seeing, like the organization is likely behind all this, is probably that Church of the Holy Light from the first game. Because they were like working in tandem with the Nozomi company, but Nozomi was like the forefront of all of it, whereas the church was kind of like a vehicle for things. So I think what we might be seeing is the church stepping up and kind of continuing the work, as you could say. So that's going to be fun. Yay for cults! Those are always fun, aren't they? No, they're not. They're terrible. All right, let's get started then, shall we? I silently look up at the building. The lights were on the roof at the end of the living room at the third floor, which meant that she was awake. I knew she would be, but even so, I couldn't help but sigh. That was the end of my last hope. After Sedeka had answered the phone, she handed it to me without saying a word. I'm guessing she's like, "Come home." Just like I'd expected, her voice was calm. Both me, Sedeka, and Ito knew from experience that meant she was angry. What? We didn't do anything this time. She told me to come home immediately, in a flat, emotionless voice. I couldn't even make any excuses. I'd been hoping she'd be asleep when I got here, but now I realize that was never any chance of that. Hey, bro, come on. Like, you know how this is going to play out. She's upset because she wants you to walk away from all of this. You never promised you would, but at the same time, she's upset. But the other part, he couldn't have avoided this. He was told by the school he had to try and do that interview. He had no choice. The only choice he had is he spent a little extra time at school thinking about stuff. Maybe she knows that that's what happened. I don't know. No, I didn't know for certain that she wanted to talk about what happened today. I might be about something else. The delusion is what it might be about. Maybe Kurusu's feeling worried too. I was already a witness to one death, and now today, I'd seen another. And if they were all part of the same series of murders, then the killer hadn't been caught yet. So maybe I was in a pretty dangerous position. So I was trying to find the killer, just like the police. It was possible I'd gotten in too deep, and now the killer would come after me. Wait a minute. Kurusu was the vice president of the newspaper club and my sister, so maybe she was in danger too. It wasn't that long ago that she'd been stabbed. They'd arrested the guy who'd attacked her, but I'd heard that he was practically insane. What if the real killer had sent him to stab Kurusu? What if the person who found my phone saw Kurusu's photos and phone number, and now they were after her? If it were normal life, yes. We're well past that, though. I tried to tell myself that as I went inside the house. But when I knocked on Kurusu's door, there was no answer. Oh, this is going to be awful, isn't it? Thought she might be asleep. Tried to open the door, but it was locked on the inside. I'd seen the light on from outside, so maybe she was sleeping with them on? I didn't see Dad, Yui, or Yuto anywhere. The house was always so lively, but now it seemed eerily quiet. Why wasn't there anyone here? Where had they gone? Did they get food and leave Kurusu here? But I looked at the time, and normally this would have been when Dad was closing up the hospital. The front door, that is, the door to the clinic itself, was still unlocked. All the lights were still on.
Masaka. No.
I should have done the happy one. I suddenly had a horrible thought. And I started thinking of even worse things. That's what I do all the time. I decided to try to call Kurusu's cell phone from the line in the house. I heard the sound of the ringtone. It was coming from Kurusu's room. She was asleep after all. Why would she call me here and then go to sleep? What the heck was she thinking?
おい、クルス。な、起きろよ。開けてくれよ。クルス、起きろ。おいって。
That was strange. I was pounding on the door. There was no response from inside. I had a bad premonition. There was no way. It wasn't possible, right? I tried to tell myself that everything was fine, but it wasn't working. I decided to kick down her door. I ran inside the room and gasped at what I saw. Oh, here we go. Starting it off strong, huh? Oh, no. Oh. The whole room was covered in red. The walls, the bed, the carpets, the desks, the stuffed animals. The room was covered in bright red blood everywhere I looked. The smell of blood was so strong I almost threw up and I couldn't bring myself to take another step inside. Whose blood was this? There was no sign of Kurusu in the room. She was gone. Not only were Dad, Yui, and Yuto missing, but so was Kurusu. She disappeared, leaving behind all this blood, leaving behind her smartphone. She disappeared without a trace. The door was locked from the inside. Even when the windows were locked. The words missing persons case flashed through my mind. But I knew it was much worse than that. I fell to my knees and held my head in my hands. Aww. I knew Dad, Yui, Yuto, and Kurusu too were never coming back. Basically, a flashback to his childhood. That was just a daydream, but I couldn't say for sure if it wouldn't happen. The position I was in was just that dangerous. When I went inside, she was sitting on the bed waiting for me.
傷に触るだろう。ちゃんと寝てないと。
また、警察に連れて行かれたって聞いたんだけど。
Well, yeah, but again, I didn't do anything. Kurusu cut me off. Her voice was calm and level. Normally this would have been a relief, but in Kurusu's case, it just made me feel more scared.
この情報に間違いはないわね。
Uh-huh.
誰の情報？
そんなの誰だっていいでしょ？
Oh gosh.
それより本当なの？どうなの？
She's gonna kill us from the bed. Like, she won't even touch us. She'll just look at us in a way that will make our brain explode.
それは...
Kawahara-kun must have told her. Dang it. Why do you always have to tell Kurusu, of all people? I knew it was in for another lecture. No, I'd be lucky if it was just a lecture. If it was anything worse, I didn't want to think about it. I had heard her voice with this calm. It was a warning sign. I needed to proceed cautiously.
さっきから黙っているなんて、一体どうしたんでしょうね。もしかしたら、私の声が聞こえなかったんでしょうか。
How'd they make her so intimidating? Like, I understand they're describing her as intimidating, but like, it works. Like, I'm like flinching. She suddenly changed. You're kidding me. Normally I get at least a little more time.
そういうことなら、もう一度お聞きしましょうか。先ほどのお話は。
聞こえてます。大丈夫です。
そう。だったら、どうしてお返事してくれないのかしら。
Again, he was just doing what he was told. He didn't look for it. He wasn't asking for it. But once he was in that, he went to do the interview that the school told him to do. The incident occurred right where he was supposed to be. He was then taken by police because he was told to do so. He didn't choose to. He was told to.
すみません。
まあいいでしょう。それで？
はい。さっきの話は、本当です。
I'm sorry.
でも、それは僕のせいじゃなくて、事件が起きたんだからしょうがないっていうか。ほら、クルスも知ってるだろ。渡部との対談の件。
Yeah, I'm surprised the happy-go-lucky music was going for so long. I tried to stop my voice from shaking as I told her everything that happened that day.
そういうわけで警察に連れて行かれたのは僕たちが重要な目撃者だっただけで他には何もないから本当に
Really, I understand you're upset, but you can't hold this against him. For once, you can't do that. Kurusu was watching me with extremely cold eyes the entire time I talked. Somehow I managed to look back at her as I shared something that wasn't an excuse that I'd been feeling lately.
でもさ、最近なんか少しおかしいと思ってるんだ。
おかしい？
Yeah, like
何が？
how this stuff's just happening to me at this point.
最初はさ、もちろん僕たちから興味を持って事件のことを調べてた。けど、最近はその事件自体が逆に僕らを追ってきてるような、そんな気がするんだよ。
That's what I was just thinking. I was just about to say that. I kind of hate that I didn't say it because then it would have seemed cleverer. But like, I mean, it wasn't like it was hard to guess. I love that. Now it feels like the case is pursuing us. The case is pursuing us. When I said that, I realized how accurate it felt. That was the only way I could think of this to describe what had happened today. It was Watabe who had asked for an interview with us. And Watabe had died in front of us before we'd even talked to him. We hadn't had a chance, we hadn't had a choice in any of it.
昨日
Kurusu opened her mouth quietly.
昨日言ってくれたわよね。
Oh, here goes that conversation on the roof.
昨日考えるってそう言ってくれたわよね。
それは
I had said that, yes.
僕だってそのつもりだったよ。でも今日またいろいろあって、それで新しく分かったことがあるんだよ。
Oh no.
分かったこと？
Uh-oh. Warning! Warning!
そうなんだ。さっき部室でみんなと話してたんだけど、今回の事件の被害者には共通点があるんだよ。
Should I please don't?
その共通点とは何かっていうと、実は
And then I stopped. I wasn't sure Kurusu would understand what I was going to say, or trying to say. But if I couldn't think of anything else to do, so I just told her exactly what had happened.
実は一連の事件の被害者ってみんな特殊な現象を体験してたみたいなんだよ。未来予知とか人の心を読んだりとか念写とか、つまり超能力ってことで。
超能力？
Kurusu froze. She probably hadn't been expecting that.
そうなんだ。全員が何かしらの能力を持ってた可能性があって、この予想が本当なら事件そのものだけじゃなく世界的な常識を根本から覆すことになるかもしれない。これってすごいことじゃん。
And then I realized she was acting strange. Her gentle smile had vanished and she was sitting there expressionless. I realized I'd made a mistake, but it was too late. She was just about to blow. She's devastated because you sound excited. That's the problem, dude. You just saw a man die. At the very least, she'd want you to be mortified or wanting to run away, because that's what she wants. She wants you to be safe. But instead, you're talking like it's the best thing that's ever happened to you. I'd be blowing my top too. I'd be like, are you crazy? When she got like that, it meant she was building up her anger for an explosion. The only thing I could do now was wait for the thunder to come crashing down on me. Here it comes. I close my eyes. But she's freaking gonna hug you and be like, why? I waited and waited and nothing happened. I opened my eyes and saw... Kurusu looking weaker than I'd ever seen her before. Aww.
Takuru, お願いだから、これ以上はやめて。もう、やめて。
She reached out with the shaking hands to grab my arms.
クルス。
怖いの。私。
Aww.
これ以上、あなたが事件に首を突っ込んで、何かあったらと思うと、いても立ってもいられない。怖くて。
Okay.
怖くて。
I wonder if she knows about powers too. Maybe that would explain a lot why she froze up when he's like talking about it. And then the other thing too is like Arimura, is it Hinata? Arimura Hinata? The you know, blonde girl who was at the murder scene. I just realized something. I think I kind of realized it last time, but I just put like a little another piece together. I was talking about how like it seems like I was guessing that last week that she might have an ability that lets her perceive death maybe, or incoming death, make a prediction about it. But that kind of tracks with her record. Like, why was she in that like that hotel room with that guy? Maybe they were friends, or like she saw him and like she had a premonition that he was about to die, and he believed her. Maybe because he worked for that company that's probably a shell company for the Church of the Holy Light or whatever. And he knew like some of the weirdness that was going on and realized that like she might be onto something. And so they get a hotel room maybe to have a private conversation. And then he gets killed there. Maybe even by her because of the weird wobbly stuff that happens, right? When these people fall to the new gen killings. But that's not the point. The point is, if she has an ability, her ability might be to be able to predict that people are going to die. And she's trying to do something about that, but she doesn't know how, because the time when she tries to intervene, it seemed to like just facilitate it rather than help. And she had that premonition about Taku. And if Kurusu already believes in these kinds of powers, maybe she has one herself, or she's just seen enough to know that they're real. And she has a guess that Arimura like has that kind of ability. That might have got her really spooked. And that's why she's like been desperate to get him away from this stuff, because she feels like that's the only hope he has. That could explain a lot, and it's putting some connections that I think match pretty well.
あなたにだってわかるでしょ。大切なものを失うのがどれだけ辛いことか。
Aww.
私はもう失いたくないの。家族を。大切な人を。だからお願い、タクル。そんなおかしな事件を追うのはもうやめて。お願い。
Man, I don't know how you could turn that freaking down. I wouldn't be able to, but at the same time, I still feel like things are going to be forced on him. I think even if he commits right now, like, I don't want anything to do with this, I'll stop. He's not going to have a choice. Or at least he's going to be put into a position where he has to continue. Kurusu seemed so weak, like she was about to cry. I was shocked. I'd never thought she'd let me see her like this. I hadn't truly understood how much I'd been making Kurusu worry. Her hands gripped me tighter, as if she was trying to stop me, as if she was clinging to me. A gasp of pain slipped out of her mouth. Maybe her wound had opened up again, but she kept on clinging to me tightly. She held me and wouldn't let me go. I was a fool. I was such a fool. I'd gotten cocky just because I'd learned something new, and forgot how much I would hurt hurt the people closer to me.
ごめん。ごめん。本当にごめん。そんなに心配させてたなんて。
タクル、それじゃ。
でも。
But no! I removed Kurusu's hand from my arm as gently as I could.
一つだけやっておかなきゃいけないことがあるんだ。それだけは許してほしい。
What?
それは大事なことなの？
うん。
私たち家族より大事なことなの？
同じくらい大事なことかな。
同じくらい。一体何がそんなに。
スマホ取り返さなきゃ。
I don't follow. My phone was stolen that night. Now it was in the hands of a mysterious girl who was either connected to the killer or was maybe the killer herself. I didn't know. But given what I'd seen so far, there's no way she wasn't connected somehow. So I had to get it back no matter what.
そんなの。
ダメなんだ。あれには新聞部のデータが入ってる。それにここのことも。もしそれが見られたら。
データって、連絡先とか取材の成果とかでしょ？それにロックだってかけてあるって。
Yeah, but then someone proceeded to collie toe with it.
うん。でも、もしものことだってあるし。
If psychic powers really did exist, someone might have a way to get the data off of it. And then something terrible might happen. Whoa, wait, what? What's this? What the fetch is this? This is different. Whoa, weird. Suddenly the lights went off and the room was plunged into darkness. The darkness was so sudden my eyes didn't have time to adjust. I could barely see anything.
クルス、どうしたんだよ、おい!
But even though she was right in front of me a second ago, she didn't answer. There was only a silent darkness.
クルス、返事しろよ。どこ行ったんだよ。
クルスノノならいない。もう殺した。
Oh no. What the fetch? Suddenly a voice came from the darkness. I turned toward it and I saw the small shadow standing there.
宮代タクルだな。
Who are you? It's so weird.
お前。
愚かなやつだ。余計なことに首を突っ込まなければ死ぬこともなかったろうに。
Her hands were filled with knives. Oh no. The silver blade shone with the bloody crimson light. No, it wasn't just light, it looked like blood. There was some liquid dripping down from it that looked just like...
いや、違う。あれは血だ。本当の血だ。
そうだ、血だよ。言ったろ？クルスノノを殺したと。
Oh gosh. The girl with the knives pointed to a corner of the darkness and grinned. I saw the silhouette of something that looked like a head. It was rolling on the ground. Kurusu, Kurusu!
今さら後悔しても遅いぞ、宮代タクル。これはすべてお前が招いたことだ。
I do feel like this is just a delusion though. Like it feels too bizarre, I guess is the word, right? Bizarre? She smiled and started to walk toward me. I screamed out into the hallway, but there was no answer. I heard nobody call back to me.
ああ、無駄だよ。お前の妹も弟も父親もみんな殺しておいたからな。
Yeah. Fudge.
あとはお前だけだ。さっさと死ね。
タクル？どうしたの、タクル？
It's over. I suddenly found myself back in Kurusu's room. She was reaching a hand out toward me, concerned. She'd been stabbed because of me, but she wasn't dead. She was alive. It was just a delusion. Wiped the sweat off my forehead and told Kurusu over and over again I was fine. If I wasn't careful, it could become real. The data on the smartphone was too dangerous. Of course, that wasn't the only reason I wanted it back. It was also because I had the footage. Aww, and the picture. Aww. Has that. Like, I love that. I love that this is the thing he treasures. He's like, I can't lose this picture. Aww. The picture we'd taken together. I hadn't told Kurusu, and I never would, but that was my one precious memory. The only one I had. That's why I hadn't even made a backup of it. If I did, it felt like it wouldn't be as special anymore. It was a picture of my family. Back when I still considered them my family. Back when things were fun. It was the one thing I owned that I really cared about.
とにかく、あれだけは何としても取り返さなきゃならないんだ。
I gripped Kurusu's hand softly for a second, then headed for the door. Gosh darn it, you need to stop it! She tried to get up from the bed and buckled over from the pain. I wanted to run back and help her. I wanted to run over, get her back into bed, call Dad, that's what I wanted to do. But if I went back now, she probably wouldn't let me go. So I left the room, closed the door without looking back. You suck. What is that? I could hear her voice on the other side of the door. It stung a little. Should!
タクル兄、今、のの姉の声が。
また傷が開いたかもしれない。すぐに父さんを呼んでくれ。
わかった。タクル兄、どこ行くの？
僕にはやることがあるから。
そんな、タクル兄ひどいよ。のの姉のそばに、ちょっと、タクル兄ってば！
Come on, dude. I ignored Yui's angry yells and ran out the door. In order to get back what was important to me. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What are you doing? I had to get back there, to AH Tokyo General Hospital. October 10th, 2015, Saturday. Kurusu Nono stared silently at the closed door. Her heart was filled with regret. She should have tried harder to stop him. She should have ignored the wound in her stomach and clung to him harder. Fortunately, the wound didn't seem to have reopened. That instant, her father, Sakuma Wataru's words came back to her. If you push yourself too hard, that wound opens again. It might leave a scar. His words had stopped her. And Miyashiro Takuru had left because of that. In the end, maybe she only cared about herself. It was true that she didn't want to lose her family. However...
ダメなの。あの病院に近づいちゃダメなのよ。
Oh no. She knows exactly where he's going. How does she know? She picked up the smartphone that had fallen to the floor where she'd stumbled out of bed. She opened the screen with trembling hands. On the screen was... Oh no. Senri? Minamin? That's her friend that died, right? How did she get an email from her? And I bet you that phone number is probably his. Oh my gosh, that's insane.
すまん、待たせた。
Fetch. Ito saw us from across the street and ran over.
悪いな。
This is gonna go bad. This is gonna go so bad. It is front loading with so much, so much foreshadowing. Oh, it's gonna go so bad.
いや、それよりも声。
すまん。
Ito quickly lowered his voice.
こっちこそすまないな。こんな時間に。
タクと私たちの仲だもん。
This is a bit of a step up for friends, though. We're gonna go somewhere we're probably gonna meet a murderer.
それに、お前一人で行かせて何かあったら、女帝に殺される。
Well, don't say that too soon. When I heard the word Empress, I remembered how desperately Kurusu had tried to stop me. I shook my head a little to drive the image out of my mind. After I'd left yesterday, I'd gone straight to AH Tokyo General Hospital. This time, I wouldn't be able to just blunder in like I did when I'd snuck into the psych ward. I'd spent a whole night looking at the locations of the ER entrance, emergency exits, as well as security system. And then I spent the day pretending to be visiting a patient while I scouted the inside. In the evening, I went to Setika's house. I wanted to do it alone, but I realized it'd be too dangerous. I needed a partner who could contact Shinjo-san immediately if something happened, and the only two people I could ask were Sedaka and Ito.
うまく取り戻せるといいな、スマホ。ここの連中が犯人と関係あるかどうか知らねえけど、やっぱりあれを渡したままにしておくのはまずい。
ああ、おかしな着信もあったしな。
思い出させるなよ。今考えても恐ろしい。
Yeah, it should. I'd canceled my phone contract immediately, but somehow my phone had still been able to call Ito. That has scared the heck out of me. And unlike older cell phones, the smartphone was filled with personal information. There's no way I could let them keep it.
それにさ、あれには大事なものが入ってるもんね。
Yeah, you're right, but like, do you know what it is?
何が？
素直じゃないのって良くないこともあると思うな。怪我してるのんちゃんを喜ばせてあげてもいいのにね。
Aww. Just stab me a little closer to the heart next time.
ま、宮代らしいけど。
悪かったな。
んじゃ、行こうぜ。お前が調べたデータだと、そろそろ警備が交代する時間だろ。
あ。
We nodded to each other and jogged along the wall surrounding AH Tokyo General Hospital.
ここまでは予定通り。いや、むしろ上々だな。
Well, that's a bad sign. Ito was right. Getting in the hospital had proved easier than planned. A big part of it was that I'd memorized the way in, but the biggest advantage we had was that the rear staff entrance was unlocked for some reason. Oh no. If that had been locked, we would have had to go through the ER entrance. That would have meant we'd probably be caught up by the staff, but just as I was starting to worry, Sedaka turned the doorknob and told me it was unlocked. Sedaka. That's not normal, and that's the second time a door that should be locked just becomes unlocked around you. God, now I think she's got powers. For some reason, the power to unlock doors, but it's happened too many times now. Actually, no, 3 times. Because there's like the revolving dead, then the hospital, like the first time we were here, where we had to sneak into like into the ward, and now again here trying to sneak into the base, like the entrance. Like, how is she consistently unlocking doors like this?
また鍵が開いてた。この前と同じか。
So I suddenly remember what happened when I first snuck into the psych ward and almost stopped for a second to think. But then I drove the idea from my mind. I need to focus on getting the phone right now. No, dude, that's a clue. There's something odd about that. And that's starting to make me wonder about Sedaka. That's definitely... What's the saying? Once is an oddity, twice is a coincidence, but 3 times is the pattern. Yeah, we've hit 3 now. It was nighttime at the hospital, and there wasn't a ward where patients were kept. The lobby is pitch black. Every now and then, I heard a strange, unpleasant sound, like 2 pieces of metal rubbing against each other. We crouched down and tried to move quietly. Someone could spot us at any moment. It was in the middle of autumn. I could still feel the cold sweat running down my back.
問題はスマホがどこにあるかだよね。
Yeah, with no way to track it, we have no clue.
だな。
The girl is definitely the one who picked it up. I still think that's Taku from the first game. That's just my hunch. That's gotta be him. Which meant that finding her would be the fastest way, but I had no way of knowing where she was.
だからって、病院の中を全部探して回るわけにもいかないしな。
Maybe the girl is like his version of a manifestation, like a new heir, where the first Taku made basically a clone of himself that was like healthy and sound, but still a clone. Maybe this girl is like a incarnation of his own invention, maybe as a way to try and give her the abilities of a gigalomaniac without dooming her to killing herself by using the powers.
あの日、どこであの子と会ったんだっけ？
I retraced our steps from that day. First, we'd hidden in the bathroom, and then...
精神科の病棟へ入った。
That's where we've seen the sumo stickers drawn on the walls in blood.
ってことは、まずはそこに行かなきゃいけないってことか？
いや、何もそこまでする必要は。
Not to mention, he doesn't want to go back. I didn't want to go back there.
病棟から逃げるときに非常階段を使った。階段をずっと降りていって、そこでスマホを落としてあの子に拾われた。
となると、その非常階段に向かえばいいってことか。どっちだ？
それが逃げるのに夢中だったからはっきりとした場所かな。
Right. I hadn't been able to remember when I'd been scouting the place out this afternoon either. Maybe it was a hidden stair, like a stairway that normally is not observable.
多分あっちかも。
Seneca started to move forward, looking around as she walked.
覚えてるのか？
なんとなくだけど。
But Seneca walked forward hesitantly. We followed.
ここか？
違うかな。
いや、そうだったかもしれない。
Might as well start here. There was a steel door to the emergency stairs in front of us. I turned the knob and softly pushed it. It was a little heavy, but it opened without catching on anything. This one wasn't locked either, evidently. The emergency stairs stretched up and down, illuminated by cold, fluorescent lights. As I stared at them, I realized I remembered coming down these stairs.
どうだ？
多分ここだ。すごいな、この絵は。
Yeah, she is.
褒められちゃった。
Oh, yeah, you did. Seneca grinned.
よし、行こう。
Seneca, not Seneca, Seneca.
ああ、
We carefully walked down the dimly lit staircase. I started to get more and more nervous. Even if I'd done my homework before I'd come here, this felt even easier than last time. Maybe we were being led into a trap. It really feels like it, doesn't it? Maybe something terrible is waiting up ahead to swallow us. I tried to shake my head and drive those thoughts out of my mind.
あの子、今夜もまたどこかを歩いてるのかな。
どうだろう。
What was she doing with an old woman in a dark hallway at that hour anyway? Was it a woman? I thought it was a dude. Where did she come from and where did she go? Also, if I didn't run into her again, what do I do? Ideally, get my phone back without causing too much of a fuss, but I couldn't imagine things would be that easy. For now, I thought of an escape route, but it might be dangerous.
ね、タク、ほら、あれ。
Oh. We'd reached the end of the staircase. There was a cold steel door in front of us. There was no further stairs to go down. Past this door should be the hallway where I dropped my phone.
もう、ここまで来たんだ。
If we're at the bottom, I could see this being underground. I told myself there was no time for second thoughts and nodded at Seneca and Ito, then put my hand on the cold doorknob. Fortunately, it wasn't locked either. I looked down the hallway and listened to the loud creaking of the hinges. Here we are.
誰もいないね。
ああ、
For now. Seneca and Ito both looked a little relieved. There was no one in the hallway at all. We slipped past the open door and proceeded down the hallway, being careful not to make any noise. Maybe it was in my imagination, but the air seemed more stale in here than did upstairs. Identical doors stretched out on both sides, and there was no way to know what was in each room. The letters on the plates were too small to read in the dim light unless you could squinted. I got close to one and tried to read it when...
おい、誰が来る？
Oh, fetch. Crap. Get inside the door, I guess. Seneca and I jumped at Ito's words. I listened carefully. And sure enough, from behind him, I heard... Ooh, very slow footsteps. Not just one pair of them. They were slow, and if they were only taking one step at a time, I recognized those footsteps. Those footsteps were...
あいつらだ。
Now what do we do?
く一度隠れようよ。
隠れるってどこへ？
The door had to the emergency exit was the same way as the footsteps were coming from. There's no time to get back there now. It's like they're trying to drive you in deeper.
ここ開いてる。
Again, okay, first of all, I'm worried this is still a trap, that they're being driven deeper. Secondly, she just opens another door. I'm seeing a freaking pattern. I slid inside the door directly next to us. Just before I did, though, I saw the horrible words written on the plate next to the door.
何ここ、ロッカールーム？
Morgue. The walls were covered in steel cabinets. They were just big enough for someone to lie down in. This place is...
あ、そうだ。もしかしたらこの中に隠れられるかもしれないよ。
No, don't do that! Sedeca put her hand on one of the cabinet doors.
おい！
The words on the plate had read... autopsy room. Even worse. Which meant that what it was inside was...
ダメだ、尾上、それは。
I closed my eyes, imagining what I was about to see inside the cabinet. They're probably mostly empty.
どうしたの、タク？
I opened my eyes when she spoke and saw there was nothing inside.
なんか変なロッカーだね。
尾上、これロッカーじゃなくて。
I whispered to her and she turned pale. Yuto must have figured it out too because so did he.
とにかくこの中に隠れるなんてごめんな。どこか別の場所を探そう。
The footsteps were still approaching from down the hallway, and for some reason it felt like they were coming toward this room. Again, it feels like he's being shepherded.
嘘だろ。なんで解剖室なんかに。
This wasn't a place anyone would normally choose to visit. Yuto was panicking too.
宮代、どうする？こっちに来るぞ。
I listened carefully again. There was no doubt. The footsteps were definitely coming this way. But I didn't see any place in the room we could hide. Except for one.
くそ。
ねえ、やっぱりここに。
Sedeko was shaking a little, but she put her hand on one of the cabinet doors.
バカ！そこはダメだって。隠れるなら他に。
他ってどこだ？
I looked around and didn't see any other place in the room where the three of us could hide.
早くしないと来ちゃうよ。
I didn't have a choice, I had to do it. The lamp in the cabinet was green. Did that mean it was empty? Or did it mean the opposite? I felt all the hairs on the end of my neck stand on end, but I managed to pull open the door. Thankfully, there's nothing inside. Sedeko's normally a ditz, but at times like this, she was really courageous. Her whole body was shaking, but she managed to jump in first.
タク、もう一人入れるよ。私一人じゃ怖いよ。お願いだよ。
She grabbed my hand from inside. She was right. Since Sedeko was so small, there was room for another person in there.
糸、悪いがここに3人は無理だ。お前は隣へ。
He's like, are you freaking serious? I have to be by myself?
尾上を一人にしとくわけいかない。
俺だってこんなところに一人は嫌だ。
Let me be with her. And then the footsteps outside stopped. Just as I expected, they stopped right outside this door. I was terrified. It almost felt like someone was pointing a cold knife toward my back. Also, have you considered the fact that you might not be able to open these from the inside? Have you thought about that? I bet you haven't. I bet you haven't.
待っていてください。今ドアを開けますから。
I heard a voice outside.
もうダメだ。とにかく入れ、糸。いや、待て、やめ。
I ignored Ito and yanked open the door next to mine, and then pushed him in head first.
いいから早く。
If there's a body in that one, I feel so bad. Ito held his hand over his mouth to desperately stifle a scream. As soon as he was all the way inside, I shut the door. It'd be really bad if it was closed all the way, so I left him a little gap. And then I crouched inside and slid next to Sedeka.
閉めるぞ。
Shutting it. I brought the door close, leaving just enough of a gap that we couldn't be seen from the outside. Oh baby, the inside of the cabinet was hard and cold. Made sense since no one in here would ever complain about that. Game, why is this our view? Since I was pushed up against Seneca, the parts of my body that were touching hers felt strangely warm. We're not having a moment here, are we? We didn't have time to enjoy each other's warmth. I mean, that's fair. I looked outside, holding my breath to make as little noise as possible. Oh. Just a moment later, they came inside. There were 5 or 6 of them. I'm sure they would all be old people, but some of them were middle-aged or young men. If it was just old people, I was planning on stealing back my phone by force if I had to, but that was impossible now. But what were they doing in a place like this? And then I started to wonder again. Yeah. Do you feel like it's been a little odd that you're here? A sudden horrible delusion made my entire body shiver. Maybe they were already dead, and this was where they slept. That's impossible. That's a horror movie or something, right? I tried to tell myself I was being silly, but I could tell I was shaking. Sadaka's probably no different. She's clinging to me like a little girl. Aww. I am too. And then I remembered. This was just like what had happened before. Oh no! When the two of us had seen that terrifying sight as children. Oh my gosh! That was probably here! At some point I started clinging on to her too. Aww, she's smiling. I squinted in the darkness. I could see several shadows moving around. Strange men and... One of them was clearly different from the others. It was a small girl. She slowly walked across the room straight toward where we were hiding. She's gonna shut it, isn't she? She'd be like, oh, these aren't supposed to be open. Clunk, clunk. Did she find us? My heart started to pound faster, but it seemed that wasn't the case. The men followed her across my field of vision and stopped in the corner in front of the empty wall. Yeah, listen. I'm sure you can hear something interesting here. Oh, she opened what looked like a small breaker box on the wall. You know those things with the yellow warning signs and black or red text that read danger, high voltage? Oh no. And then she took something out of her pocket and slid it into the box. There was a loud noise on the other side of the wall. The girl shut the door to the breaker box and put her hand on the wall and slid it to the side. Dude. Oh my gosh, it's a hidden room. The wall opened easily as if it were weightless. It must have been some kind of sliding door. Is it an elevator? She led the men inside and vanished. It's an elevator. The wall closed and the Atachi room was quiet again.
隠し扉だったのか。
びっくりしたね。
ああ、もう大丈夫だ。
I waited for a while to make sure she wasn't coming back, then finally opened the cabinet door. Sedeka and I crawled out. Ito, you okay, buddy? Did we shove you in there with a corpse? I shoveled. No, it's shoveled. Yeah, it should be. I heaved or I shoved a deep breath of air into my lungs.
なんかここって秘密基地みたい。
Exactly.
そうだな。
Why would they build a huge mechanism like this? What was going on at this hospital? And what was on the other side of that wall?
おい、伊藤。もう出てきても平気だぞ。
I knocked softly on the door to Ito's cabinet. he's holding it in the whole time. He finally goes, I was like, ah! He just had to let it out.
Shin-chan!
Ito leapt out of the cabinet. His face was pale, his hands were now covering his mouth.
静かにしてくれ。
He crouched down on the ground, trying his best not to scream. It was only then I realized the cabinet I stuffed Ito into had already been occupied. Oh no. Well, that sucks. I could see the lamp above the door was red. I hadn't had time to check, but still, that was a horrible thing to do to someone. Oh, that really sucks.
Shin-chan, 大丈夫?
No!
すまない。非常事態だったんだ。
非常事態じゃなかったら、今頃ただじゃ済ましてねえぞ。てめえ。
He's like, yeah, if that hadn't actually spiraled, you'd be dead. I would be putting you in one of these myself.
ほんと悪い。
もういい。それより行こうぜ。ほら。
Ito staggered to his feet. Oh, there he goes again. But then he collapsed right to the floor again. I waited for him to calm down, then opened the door to the breaker box like the girl had done.
隠し扉だって？
Oh, were you a bit distracted?
ああ。
I looked deep inside the box. There was an RFID scanner like the ones they used at the train turnstiles inside.
これじゃカードがないと開かない。
That wasn't good. What could we do now? I hadn't anticipated this. But then Seneca, who'd been fiddling around with different parts of the wall, let out a small cry. Is she gonna unlock this door too?
なんだ？
これ、ちゃんと閉まってないよ。
Oh.
何？
Yep, again, she's just... Woo! It's open. Seneca pointed at the floor. The wall was set to slide upon rails on the floor, but some kind of cloth had gotten stuck and jammed in there. So the door wasn't shut all the way.
伊藤、手を貸せ。
OK。
This is still feeling like a trap.
よっ。
The two of us yanked the door to the side. We heard a loud clunk like something was unlocking, then the wall started to slide open. One of the men had dropped a handkerchief or something onto the rail. When Seneca had pulled it off, the door began to move more freely.
Oh.
Yeah, this feels intentional. I mean, it doesn't seem like it, but I'm really nervous. Oh, fetch me. Oh, fetch me. That was all that was left to do. What was left to slide the door open. And beyond it was...
また階段だぜ。
Lovely. I could see stairs going down. There was a sub-basement below the hospital basement. The place was protected by a very elaborate camouflage. This...
なんか、やばい雰囲気だな。
Yeah, this has bad news written all over it. Like, not even like the normal kind of bad news. Like, this has like imminent death down these stairs.
どうする？タク。
ここまで来たんだ。僕は行くよ。
Oh gosh, it's the what is it called? Like, it's the fallacy where like it's like an investment, but like it's where you get in so much you have to start justifying that it was a good idea because you've come so far, spent so much money or something. God, I can't think of the term. Why are you smiling? To be honest, I was terrified of what I might find down there. But this was something I had to do, no matter what. For just a moment, I thought of Kurusu. This is exactly what she didn't want you to do.
タクル。お願いだから。これ以上はやめて。もう、やめて。
尾上、伊藤、お前たちはここで待ってても。
What?
冗談じゃねえよ。
Aito looked like the cabinets on the wall and groaned a little.
私も行く。いざとなったら、タクを守らなきゃ。
I wonder how literal you mean that.
逆だろ。さっき怖いって震えてたのは誰だよ。
You were too?
そんなことしてないもん。
We all looked at each other and nodded a little. Then we began to go down the staircase. I'm trying to decide if we're going to keep going. Because, like, this is a good place to stop. But I really don't want to stop. But I feel like we're going to get into something deep here. As we went down, it got darker, and the air got heavier and more humid.
大丈夫か、尾上。
After we'd gone down for a few minutes, we ran into a door. We'd probably gone down about a floor. I turned the knob and it opened easily. Maybe it hadn't been locked up to begin with. Oh boy. It was dimly lit, musty smelling hallway. It was clear the place hadn't been abandoned. There was a layer and there wasn't a layer of dust everywhere. It even seemed like it had been cleaned. But it seemed so old. There was a sense of desolation, that no one had wanted to use this place for anything for a very long time. Maybe it was like a old bomb shelter. Had it been like this since the hospital above us was built? And this air, I knew it. That was very red. The sides of my head started to hurt as if a horrible memory came rushing back.
ねえ、タク、ここって。
It's the place. Sarika seemed to remember too. That's right, this was the place. I didn't know how we'd done it, but when we were kids, the two of us had snuck in here at the basement of the AH Tokyo General Hospital. We were trying to investigate an urban legend known as the Ami-chan. And then Sarika and I... saw that. I tried to avoid thinking about it as much as I possibly could, but I'd failed. The memory would come back to me, fade, then come back again. And as I'd grown up, I'd even tried to convince myself that I'd never seen anything at all. But I'd failed that too. It was unreal, like something out of a nightmare, but something in my heart told me that it was real. And this place proved it was real after all. What? Saw? Yeah, it was real. Now it was for sure it was. Save me. Aww. It's like a new Remy. Like another version of whatever Remy was. Like somebody being studied, maybe broken time and time again kind of thing.
タク、出よう。ここ、やだ。出よう。
おい、どうしたんだよ、二人とも。
Ito realized there was something wrong with Sarika and I tried to pull us back up the stairs, but we couldn't do that. Oh, that's a terrifying sound, because suddenly I heard footsteps behind us. I could hear what sounded like panting of a beast behind me. I could feel its warm, stinking breath on my neck.
何かいる。
I couldn't turn around. I wanted to fall to the ground in terror. But if I did that, I somehow knew the thing behind me would attack. It's not actually there. There's the delusion. Suddenly I heard Sarika's thin, frail voice. She should have been right next to me, but for some reason I couldn't see her.
Oh no.
助け。
Her voice got cut off. And then there was the sound of something being crushed. No. No, 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 no. That's not happening. And then something that sounded like someone kneading a ball of meat. Mixed with that with the sound of snapping bones. No, 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 no. Ito turned around and suddenly froze with terror.
宮代。あれなんだ。なんなんだよ。おい。
No, you idiot, don't look. If you look, it'll kill you. So don't look. A bloody piece of meat fell to the ground at our feet. There was what used to be Sarika. That can't be real, though. That can't actually have happened, right? Like, no. Edito screamed. I couldn't help myself. I turned around to look at what he was seeing, and what I saw was... What the fetch is that? What? It's in a school uniform? What am I even looking at here? What the fetch? What? It was standing there, moaning in a voice that was filled with hatred and pain. Chapter 5, Gigalomaniacs. Delusionally dwellers in a looming outcry. Is it cruel to stop here? It is. Let's go. What is that? What the hell is that? A giant woman with the head of a sumo sticker? It was almost like a bad joke. I wanted to laugh. The hilarious looking monster was going to be what killed me? What the hell kind of death was that? If you laugh, the thing ain't scary at all. That's some impressive, crazy laughing. The giant woman's hand reached out for me. A moan of pain, its arms moved in to crush me. And suddenly my vision went black. I couldn't see anything. Then I realized it had probably crushed my eyes. The hilarious looking sumo sticker woman had crushed my eyes. I was gonna be torn apart like Seneca and killed. It was the funniest thing in the world. Could you even imagine anything stupider?
Oi, 何をしている?
Who was that? Suddenly I heard a sharp voice next to me. Something covered my mouth to stop me from laughing. Is that the girl that's been working with the detective? That can't be her, right? I was grabbed from behind and thin but powerful arms wrapped around my neck. It hurts, I can't breathe.
おとなしくしろ。それ以上バカでかい声を上げるな。静かにするなら話してやる。でなければ、このまま締め落とす。
The voice definitely sounds familiar, though. I nodded as hard as I could. And then the hand around my neck relaxed, it became much easier to breathe. Shut up! Well, that was a gnarly sounding breathing. Cool. My vision came back at the same time. Whoever had grabbed me had covered my eyes as well as my mouth. They hadn't been crushed at all. Shush your face!
だから落ち着け。お前は。
I doubled over in pain as she punched me in the stomach. I could feel the stomach acid coming up my throat and burning it. But the pain made my head feel much clearer. When I looked up, I didn't see the monster at the head of the sumo sticker anymore. Just a dark, musty hallway that stretched on forever. It's probably, I think it's a delusionary self-defense mechanism. Remember the Noah 2 would do this too. That also implies it might attack you with like the thing you fear the most. And that implies that the thing he fears the most is the sumo stickers and a woman. That kind of explains a lot, actually. Oh my gosh, I knew it. She's fine.
大丈夫か? おい。尾上、人。僕は何を?
なんか発作を起こしたんだよ。しかも急に叫び出して。
Oh gosh.
私たちもパニックになりそうだったの。そしたら、久野里さんが助けてくれ
It is
た。
her!
久野里さん。
Isn't she? Oh right, I think she's the girl who was with Shinjo-san.
まったく、素人どもが。こんなところで何をしている?
I'd like to ask you that same question. Yeah, I remember that cold voice. I looked back at her.
やっぱりこの人か。
お前たち
Yay!
誰かに連れてこられたというわけではなさそうだな。ということは。
But that's also bad because that implies you're involved with these people, and I don't know what to think about that.
まさか忍び込んできたのか。どうやって。
I like how that's what she's worried about. She's like, how did you get in here?
どうって。
私たちですらここのキーを入手するのにかなりの苦労を強いられたんだ。
Oh.
なのになぜ。
Interesting. So is like the detective here too? Sure, we had a bit of a bad time in the autopsy room, but it hadn't really been that hard to get in here. Again, trap, trap, trap. None of the doors have been locked. Or Setika, one of the two. When I told her that, Kunosato glared at us with suspicious eyes. I like you. You're cool.
久野里さん。
まあいい。とにかく邪魔だ。今すぐ帰れ。
Oh, yeah, no, that's not happening.
おいおい、そりゃないだろ。助けてくれたのは感謝するけどさ。い
Shush!
きなり邪魔者扱いとか。
Stop shouting! The next instant, Kunosato-san had closed the gap between Ito and herself, started strangling him.
騒ぐなと言ったのが聞こえなかったのか。
Ito nodded, tears coming out of his eyes. I could understand why. I didn't know how she could store so much power in her tiny body, but it just felt it for myself. Ito rubbed his throat in pain as she let him go.
もう一度言う。邪魔だ。帰れ。
Her voice was intimidating enough I almost obeyed, but we'd come here for a reason. And... this place had something to do with our past. If I could, I wanted to find out what happened back then. Maybe we could finally be rid of the nightmare that had been making us suffer for so long. So even though she scared me, I needed to make it clear to her.
僕たちは。
私たちはやらなきゃいけないことがあってきたんです。そんな風に頭ごなしに帰れって言われても帰れません。
Bravo! You said that very well.
尾上。
That was what I was trying to say.
尾上。お前。尾上セリカか。
Why do you know her name?
そうですけど。何か？
Yeah, what? What?
いや、とにかく帰るんだ。
Mm-mm.
危険なのは分かってます。でも僕たちだってどうしても。
誰がお前たちの心配をしている？
She's like, I don't care about you. You're gonna mess up what I'm doing. That's exactly what she's thinking right here. She's like, you're gonna just mess my stuff up. Get out of here.
え？
私は私の目的があってここにいる。お前たちに勝手な行動をされて、その目的の遂行を邪魔されては困ると、そう言ってるんだ。
So I am curious what your goals are for sure, but I'm also curious why are you here and we're here at the same time? It's feeling too coincidental. Like I said, I feel like we were led here, and that makes me think trap. So either you're also meant to be caught in a trap, maybe just the same trap, two birds, one stone, or you are more involved than I expect, or something. How cold.
その目的って何なんです？
お前たちには関係ない。
She turned around and started to walk away.
いいですよ。だったら僕たちも勝手にしますから。
しますから。
Shh, stop yelling.
何？
Oh, she's angry. Oh, she's angry. She turned around and glared at us. Her glare was like a fierce panther's. I swallowed my words, but Setika didn't.
理由も話せないような人の言うことになんて従いません。
貴様。
さあ、タク、
しんちゃんも行こう。急いでタクのスマホ見つけなきゃ。
ああ。
やっぱ女って、いざって時強えな。
Yeah, yeah, they are. Ito whispered in my ear.
だったらおとなしくついてこい。私の言うことに逆らうなよ。
Oh, baby.
いいんすか？
No, it's not. But she's like, I cannot let you interfere with my crap. If you refuse to listen, forcing you is going to cause way more problems than it'll solve and probably ruin my stuff anyway. So if you're going to go, at least listen to me. Ito had become very polite toward her after she'd strangled him.
時間がないんだ。しかも、ここまで慎重に調査を進めてきたのに、お前たちが見つかったり、騒ぎを起こされでもしたら、すべてが水の泡になる。
She's right. And I am curious, how did she even get this far? Like, that's such an interesting way. How did she even get here? Her arrogant manner was almost enough to make me talk back to her, but then I realized something. She'd done a lot of careful investigation. That meant that she had information that we didn't. So wouldn't it be better to pretend to obey for now?
それで、最後にはこっちが利用してやる。
Oh, cool. What a wholesome thought.
話は終わりだ。壁沿いに静かについてこい。大きな音や声は出すな。
She looked down the hallway, then moved over to the wall. Then she started to move quickly and quietly. I made eye contact with Ito and Sedeka, then followed her. All right. I think we are going to stop here now, though. And now we're fully invested. Now we get to really explore what's going on down here. All right. So, yeah. I think we were assaulted by a self-defense mechanism again. This time, like a Noah 2, or maybe now it's a Noah 3. Some device down here that's doing the same thing. And it attacks you with something that, it takes some of your recent fears and attacks you with them. Yeah. I like that idea that, Taku's deepest, darkest fears involves the scary Two-Face mask, Two-Face sumo sticker that he doesn't understand, but he has a visceral just reaction to. He knows it's bad somehow, and a woman. There's something to that, that's for sure. But it's odd that Sedeka and Ito didn't get blasted with that delusion, but gigalomaniacs is also the head of this chapter. It's finally going to come up. We're finally going to be hearing about that term and going to figure out how it's connected, or at least the beginning of the connections to the first game. So very stoked for that. But I'm very happy to have you here. So thank you so much for joining me. Hope you're looking forward to next week's episode. There is going to be an upcoming break. I think when this episode comes out will be the start of the next episode will be the start of it ish. The nice thing is I can kind of pre-record. So videos will come out while I've left, but it is what it is. I'm allowed to take vacations, and this isn't even a vacation, it's a work trip, but I gotta go. So we'll be taking a little bit of a breather, but it shouldn't be longer than a week, and then I'll be right back. So hopefully you don't mind, but we're going to jump right into this when we get back, and I'm excited to do so. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you keep coming back for more. If you're bored and waiting for me to come back and don't know what to do, got a great backlog, tons of great games I've played, tons of stupid games I've played. I hope you check those out sometime. It's really fun, especially you can kind of see how far I've come in being able to make content and engage and all that stuff. But yeah. That's just me bragging now, which is sad. There's nothing to brag about. I'm just happy you're here, so thank you. And until the next video you're watching me, I'm going to see me next. I'll see you there.